Hey, hello again, whiskey friends. Thanks for joining me today, everybody. Look at this. The season is in bloom. These leaves are all over the place now. So it's quite lovely out here. Hopefully you enjoy the outdoor setting as well. I do as many videos as I can out on the back porch when the weather allows. The weather's pretty darn perfect right now. For today's Tuesday video, I've been getting lots and lots of questions about blind flights. I think the concept of blind flights is really taking off, though it's turned more into the battles with things like Matt Madness, the stuff we do on Livewire Whiskey. The battle scene, has really taken off, but I want to go back to like the purity of a blind flight. So I really, really enjoy exploring blind flights because it can be a totally different whiskey experience. And that's some of the questions that I've been getting. What is the difference between drinking something blind versus drinking it knowing what it is? What were my thoughts on that? So, what I'm going to do for today's video is not only go into thoughts on blind flights, but I'm going to do a blind flight while we're talking about blind flights. So I've got a blind flight right here from a patron, WiseGuy Stu, and I'm going to see what he's plotted for me at the same time that we are talking about blind flights in general. So thank you for joining me, everybody. Let's kick off the show. All right, so I'm going to open up this box here. This is the first time I've gone through this. I've got a few samples here that I'll get to unpack as we are chatting. All right, look at this. Looks like I got 4 samples in total. Stu actually used the same bottles and labels as mine, so it's actually my handwriting on there. So it's already labeled too. WiseGuy ABC. That makes perfect sense. So I'm going to open these up as we go. I should have opened this box beforehand. But one of my favorite things to do is explore blind flights. I've been exploring blind flights for years now. One of the favorite things I used to have my wife do more often, I actually don't do it very often now because of the channel, because I'm drinking so much associated with the channel content in itself. But I would have her go into our basement and make me a blind flight. If we're going to sit there and we're going to play a game, we usually play some complicated board games like Terraforming Mars or Clank It in Space. This is one of our newest ones. But I would have her go down and pour me a blind flight, and I gave her the instructions that she could pour 1 bottle per shelf. And this was my way of combating her pouring anything that was like real expensive. Like, don't give me like a hugely expensive flight. And a lot of the more expensive bottles are kind of all on the same shelves. So that was my rule. You get 1 bottle per shelf and then go from there. And there was always so many surprises. Tasting something blind is totally different than tasting it knowing what you're tasting. What I'm amazed of so often is that when I am drinking a Jack Daniels, when I am drinking a Wild Turkey, when I'm drinking a Woodford Reserve, my mind has certain flavors that it already associates with those brand names. And it's almost like preloading those flavors into my mind and my expectations. So a lot of the times it's like my mind is saying, hey, you're tasting these flavors, but am I truly tasting the flavors, or am I just trained to taste those flavors? When it's blind, especially in the double blind scenario as I'm describing there. Oh, you know what? I messed that up. Let's see here. I messed up B, D, and C while I was chatting. Of course I did. So how am I going to fix that? All right. D is C. I'll put the bottles here. And C is D. Lovely. Now, with the blind flights, as I was saying, you really just cut through the marketing on it. So a lot of the times I'll be tasting something blind, and some of those stereotypical flavors I would expect, I don't initially detect it. And as soon as someone tells me the brand name, my mind's like, oh, yeah, they're the flavors. Weirdest thing sometimes. All right. So while we go through this, we are going to open up this immediately. The blind of all blinds, or the blinds of all blends. I think it's the blinds of all blinds. Let's see here. So let's see what Stu has planned for me. All right. Blind of all blends. Oh no, blind of all blends. This is a blind of blends. Interesting. All right. Sample A, blend of 3 components. Sample B, blend of 2 components. Sample C, blend of 3 components. Sample D, blend of 2 components. And he's given me a bank here of the different things that could be in this blend. Some of these I hadn't had before, so that's going to be difficult. But there's some hitters in here. So Russell's Reserve 13-year, Calumet 16, a St. Cloud 7-year single barrel, Old Forester Rye barrel proof, a Willett Family Bourbon 8-year, Old Forester Bourbon barrel proof, Elijah Craig 18, Jack Daniels barrel proof, Four Roses single barrel, and Remus Gatsby Reserve. And I've got to guess what is in these. Woo, that is going to be tough. All right, that's what's in there. So we're going to explore this together. And man, I didn't even know what I thought I was just doing a blind flight, but I'm doing a blind of all blends. I understand now. And then I've got the key, and I got to open this up later. Well, let's see how we do this as I'm chatting with you here. So I'm going to jump into sample A that is legitimately sample A, even though I mixed up the glasses for C and D. Oh man, it smells old. So one of the things I'm thinking about here, since I get to do this myself and it's not a blind battle, there is no time limit, though I'll try to keep this relatively short as I'm here with you. But there is no time limit. I can take my time with this and I can just enjoy it for what it is and really take down the flavors. So one thing that may be even a flaw in my method, I am very flavor oriented. I'm running on the muscle memory of the flavors more so than the taste. So I've got to do some more training when it does come to the taste and the palate. I've heard people say that there's something that the whiskey does to your tongue that really helps you detect if it's a rye or a wheated bourbon. As an example, I need to get more technical in nature than relying just on the flavor profiles. So right off the bat, this one's old. This one's got the old stuff in it. So, we're talking about the Elijah Craig 18, the Calumet 16, the Russell's Reserve 13-year. That's what I'm thinking about right off the bat. Now, when I say it's old, the oak isn't just a dark oak. It's a almost to the point of a furnish or varnish. And when you get that note in particular, that makes me go like 14-year plus. At least on the nose, there isn't too much proof on it too. So I start leaning towards that Elijah Craig 18. Now this is going to be tough flavor wise. Let's go into the palate on this one. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's one heck of a blend there. Ooh, thank you, Stu. So initial profile, I am debating whether to go with the Elijah Craig 18 or the Calumet 16. Both of them could be in there, but I might have to hedge my bet a bit. It is not proofy, which is probably going to help me take out things like the Jack Daniels, the Old Forester Rye barrel proof, the Old Forester barrel proof, though I don't know the ratios, so that could be a little dangerous, but I'm going to go off the flavors. Let me get one more sip in, and then we'll talk about that. Yeah, the sweetness really, really emerges. The oak is still there. I'm getting a bit of nuttiness. I'm going to go with the Elijah Craig 18 as a component of A. Man, this is going to be so hard. Now, the other one that's in here, though, is the Gatsby. Shoot. The Gatsby's in here, the Remus Gatsby. And there is definitely some honey on this one. Maybe I'm going, maybe I shouldn't have done the Elijah. Man, there's some good honey there. I'm getting some nuttiness too. I feel like I'm getting both. I think the Gatsby's in here too. So I'm going to go Remus Gatsby. Now, as I go through this, I am going to assume that I can only use the component once. So I'll mark those as sample A. And then I can, if I change my answer later, there's something lingering on the finish of this one. But I'm leaning towards the age, getting the honey, and getting the little bit of the nuttiness is what's leading me to the Elijah Craig and the Gatsby. There's one more component in here. The nose isn't telling me anything. The nuttiness is coming through more. The honey's coming through more. There's even a slight banana there. And there's some youth on the finish. I think the Jack Daniel Barrel Proof actually might be in there. It might not be that much. And the Elijah Craig and the Gatsby are so low proof that he might be trying to bump those up. I'm going to go with the Jack. Oh, this is so fun. Thank you, Stu. I've done this before, with Jason on his channel, The Mash and Journey. He does Blend-A-Geddon every year. And some of us pass along our samples to each other, like just seeing if people like it. I don't know if that's actually collusion or not, but it's real fun because people didn't tell me what was in their blends. I had to guess them just like this. All right, let's go into sample B. Ooh, totally different nose. Very chocolatey on the nose of B. Bit of cinnamon too. This one, the initial profile makes me think of Willet. There's some good age to it, but not over-aged like the one before. Ooh, that's tough. There's nuttiness and there's cherry. So I'll have to think about that. The cinnamon's there on the finish as well. I think I'm going to go with the Willet. I'm trying to get two components on this one. So there's two components here. Man. There's a little bit of honey there too. There's some nuttiness, there's cherry, there's honey, cinnamon. I think I'm still going to go with the Willet. So I'm going to say the Willet 8 years in here. So I said that for B. Gosh, I am struggling on what the other one would be here. Whatever it is, I don't think it's overly, it's not over-aged. I'm just not getting that deep of an oak. The color on this one's the lightest too. I wonder if it's a Willet Old Forester blend. There's a bit of banana. I don't know if I'm talking myself into that or not. See, this is the component of it you got to think through. But when you detect something like banana, that's so distinct. You're really leaning into an Old Forester or maybe the Jack Daniels in that circumstance. I'm going to go Old Forester on B. All right. So just to recap here, on sample A, I said it was Elijah Craig 18 year, the Remus Gatsby Reserve mixed with the Jack Daniels. Sample B, I said Willet 8 year and the Old Forester Barrel Proof. Ooh, and the finish on B lingers. Man, I'm thinking Old Forester. Now C has 3 components and D has 2 components. The components that I have left are Russell Reserve 13, Calumet 16, St. Cloud 7 year. I don't know enough about St. Cloud. That's going to be a tough one to place in here. I'll actually probably hedge my bet and put it into the 3 on C, not to before I haven't even touched C yet. And then Old Forester Barrel Proof Rye, 4 Roses. Oof, those will be tough components. I've definitely picked the big components in A and B. That might be a mistake, but let's see what it smells like and tastes like. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for joining me this long. This is actually not the quite the experience I was expecting us to do here, but this is really fun. Let's see how well I do. Oh, that's banana. Okay. Gosh, that's so over the top banana. This one's also rye, though. Old Forester rye is in here. So why I say it's a rye, that's always one of the big things that you got to figure out in these blinds a lot of times is the type, especially if it's a bourbon or it's a rye. The rye grain, even blind, can give you such a different flavor hit that it's indistinguishable sometimes. Now, it's a lot harder now than it used to be because we are to the point where there's so many distilleries that we are experimenting with like every single mash percentage profile that we can. So when it's a 51% rye, that could make it tough. This one did come across a little malty too. So I am still kind of locked in on the Old Forester rye barrel proof. The banana, though, the banana is just all over the nose. It's really dominating this blend. I got a honeybee here, a carpenter bee, making his way towards me. Guest appearance. It's also very soft. And when I get that type of sensation in the middle of a blind, it does make me think about 4 Roses. I'm going to put 4 Roses here as the second component. 4 Roses in blinds usually does not work for whatever reason. It doesn't stand out because it does come across as soft, even in comparison to other bourbons when it's going directly head to head. So just notoriously, I've had 4 Roses disappoint in blinds because of that kind of softness there. The one thing I'm going to do here, so sample D has 2 components, and I need a third component in C. A part of me wants to put the St. Cloud 7-year on this one, just because there isn't a lot of age on this pour. The 4 Roses single barrel, though, would have age. It's got a good color. It just doesn't taste old. But it would explain a lot with the rye, and if it was the St. Cloud, if it kind of tiered up to those. Oh, the banana. That has to be the rye. I still think the rye is the base of that one. Now, it could turn around and the bourbon could be the base of that one because could be Jack Daniels too. That could be the base of this one as well. But the softness on the 4 Roses there. I'm tentatively going to put St. Cloud as the third in the blend. I'm kind of go with the thought process that the St. Cloud is a source product, probably sourced by Barton. So that's kind of weighing into my thought process here a little bit. Whew. All right, let's go in the last one, D. Cheers, everybody. Thank you for continuing with me on this extra long episode. Oh, that is chocolatey goodness right there. Tons of cherry. I think the Russell's 13 is the basis of D. Just off the nose, too. I'm just pulling that because the cherry is so deep. And nothing else on this list has a deep cherry profile. So that's my other thought process here on immediately identifying the Russell's Reserve is because of the cherry. Now, if he had Buffalo Trace or something else in this list, that might make me decide it at least. So I guess that's a good thing to kind of talk about because we did say one of my flaws is the flavor associations of things, at least when I'm doing the battles. But I think it's actually aiding me in this particular one. When it comes to cherry, I would associate cherry with Russell's Reserve. I might even associate a slight bit of cherry on the Calumet 16, which are the two left. If I were to go with what I think, if I think I'm correct so far, this would be a blend of Calumet 16 and Russell's Reserve 13 year. So let's see if I can get that on the taste. The oak is definitely there. Man, that's a really good blend. Dude, you blended the heck out of these, Stu. All four of these are hitters. It's got, I'm going to go the Calumet 16 here. It's got the overaged profile. So going back to not just being oak, but going to that furniture varnish kind of a thing. I think this is a Russell's 13 and a Calumet 16. Now, man, I'm nervous about this because I boxed myself in a corner a little bit on some of these before I even tasted through all of them. But at the same time, I'm kind of really happy. I don't know what else I could change. I don't have a lot of A left. I got a little bit of B left, D and C. A was the hardest one. I'm going to give A just one little half sip because I want to sip it again when I know what it is. I'm fine with my guesses. Elijah Craig 18, the Remus, and the Jack. All right, I'm fine with my guesses there. B, I said, was the Willet 8-year mixed with an Old Forester bourbon, to be clear. The Old Forester bourbon. All right, let's see what we got here. Got a few floaties in the glass. I don't know if that'll show up. Something buzzed off the tree here. At least it's not a bug. At least one of those giant carpenter bees that was just floating around. I'm sticking to that answer. The thing that could, I'm going to like write it down here. It's the Jack versus the Old Forester. So I'm just going to put Jack question mark. I won't get any points for this if I do get it, but notice here, I am going to get scored on this in the end. So I've got 10 chances. I mean, I gotta hit some of these. All right. Old Forester. So C, I said Old Forester rye, 4 roses, and then I just threw the St. Cloud in there. It's banana for days, though. And if I assume the St. Cloud is a Barton, that makes sense. And then that soft finish. Man, it has to be the 4 roses in there. Okay. Last sample on D. I'm pretty confident in my first go through, honestly. I don't think I'm going to change anything. The only one is the Jack versus the Old Forester bourbon. Oh, man. Extra aged, old, cherry. I think that's a Russell's 13 Calumet blend, too, because there's a little bit of banana. I could be lingering through from the prior sample. Oh, man. Those are fantastic blends. Now I'm going to have to get with you, Stu, to figure out the ratios of these. Oh, maybe it's in here. All right. We are ready to grade this thing. Thank you for sticking with me, everybody. I know this experience took a little longer than I was thinking, but you kind of got the thought process of walking through a blind flight, what I was keying on, and we will see how correct I am. Now, where I was incorrect, we'll taste through them one more time and see if I can pinpoint why. All right. So I'm going to reveal this a little bit. I nailed 2 components on sample A. Oh, darn it. So the one that I nailed, it does have Remus and it does have Elijah Craig 18 in it. So the initial flavor notes I got of the nuttiness and the honey played through, I get a +1 and a +1. So I got 2 points there. Now, where I lose points is it also has the Calumet in it, which means D is not a blend of Calumet and the Russells, which is interesting because the Russells 13 year, I mean, that's got some older stuff in it, but it had like that deeper oak than I was expecting, and nothing else has that. It could be a Russell's 13 Calumet when we get to it, but I haven't seen it yet. I'm just kind of unveiling a little bit by bit. So I'm going to fold this down so I can see the next one. Oh, 2, I was way off. Darn. I knew that St. Cloud was going to get me because I don't know who's the source of that one. But this is the St. Cloud 7-year mixed with the Four Roses single barrel. Ugh. That's going to really hurt me when it comes to sample C. Though sample C is now going to be a blend of all the banana. It's going to be a blend of Jack, Old Forester, Bourbon, and Old Forester rye. I bet you it is. So sample B was St. Cloud 7-year and the Four Roses single barrel. Yeah, that's interesting. Makes me wonder about the St. Cloud 7-year being the basis of that. It's very sweet. It doesn't give me the Four Roses notes on that one either. So, So my markers on the Four Roses did not help me on that particular one. All right, let's go to C. Yep. C is exactly what I thought it was. C is the banana mixture. Darn it. I kind of hedged my bet, I guess, going all in on separating the Jack and the Old Forester on A and B, but I knew C had banana for days. So at least I get a +1 there. But I don't hit anything else. That essentially makes my score 4 out of 10. Because then I'm right on the base of the Russell's 13. But let's do the banana bomb again. That banana bomb's kind of a fun blend, though. Huh. All right. And then the last one is a Willet Russell's Reserve 13. So I get a +1 on the Russell's Reserve 13, which gives me a score of 4 out of 10. You know what? I'll take that. I had the base of A, the base of C, and the base of D right. So I feel good about that part of it. I at least had, my score's 4 out of 10, but in my mind, it's 3 out of 4 because I guessed at least one component out of 3 out of 4. So 40% of the time, I'm right 75% of the time, something like that. Well, thank you for joining me today on this extra long episode. Let me know if you like this format or not, too. I know this one took a little bit to get through. Maybe I'll see what the comments say and decide whether to edit this one down later or not. But you got to see me walk through this particularly unique experience. And this is the thing that I really like and I really enjoy. I used to more often give these type of experiences to other people. So Stu giving me this experience really does give me this like full circle experience, for lack of a better word. But when we go back to like 2019, 2020, if you go back to ADHD fishing / ADHD whiskey, or you go back to the Bourbon Junkies, heck, every channel I've probably sent a blind at some point. Sent many to Jason, sent many to the Shelf Turd / whiskeychannel.com. That one they really did a good recording on as well. You can go look up that one. But the experience of putting together these blinds is so fun. Just like 4 or 5 years ago, I felt like just Hendo and I were like the main two kind of putting together, at least within this circle. And then other people have gotten into the game more and more. And this is so creative. I love this format, Stu. This was fun. So thank you, Stu, patron of the channel, for supporting us in so many different ways. I will be doing a review of a bottle that Stu got me as well, the Journeyman corsets, whips, and chains, or Oh, I got that wrong. Whiskey. I think whiskey's the right one. Whips and chains. Well, thank you for joining me today, whiskey friends. That walks through a blind flight, and I articulated my process, I guess, the best I could. And you can see that at least on 3 of the 4 blends, I was able to reason my way out of it. I was always nervous about that St. Cloud. I had reason to be nervous about that St. Cloud. And man, that banana bomb. I should have probably, if it didn't finish so soft on C, I might have changed my answers, being that it was such a banana bomb. But it just had something else in it. Must have come from the Jack. That one's going to bug me for a while. Well, thank you for joining me today, whiskey friends. I'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye, everybody.
Jeff, just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello again. Oh, Jeffrey, you should just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello again. Oh, Jeffrey, you should just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say